As America pursued its manifest destiny to expand across the continent, the U.S. Army played a crucial role, transforming from a small, defensive force into a powerful institution tasked with enforcing America's expansionist policies. From the Mexican-American War to numerous conflicts with Native American tribes, these experiences reshaped the Army's tactics, training, and logistics, setting the stage for the birth of America's military might. Today, we'll explore how manifest destiny helped shape the U.S. Army into a formidable force. Welcome to the Great Empires. In today's episode, we're delving into how manifest destiny and the pursuit of westward expansion impacted the development of the U.S. Army. We'll cover key conflicts like the Mexican-American War and the Indian Wars, and we'll see how the Army's role in enforcing expansionist policies laid the foundation for America's modern military. If you're interested in more explorations of history's pivotal events, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. During the 19th century, manifest destiny drove the United States to expand westward, but this ambition required a military force capable of securing new territories and enforcing U.S. policies. The Army's involvement in westward expansion marked a turning point in its development, leading to advancements in tactics, logistics, and training. This video will cover the impact of manifest destiny on the Army's mission and structure, the Army's role in the Mexican-American War and its influence on military tactics, the establishment of frontier forts and logistics to support westward expansion, the Indian Wars and the Army's evolving role in enforcing U.S. policy. Let's begin with how manifest destiny changed the Army's role and purpose. Before manifest destiny took hold, the U.S. Army was a relatively small, defensive force focused on protecting the young nation from external threats. Its primary role was to defend coastal areas and secure the nation's borders. However, as America embraced the belief that it was destined to expand from coast to coast, the Army's mission shifted from defense to enforcement. This shift meant that the Army was no longer just defending American soil. It was actively securing new territories and enforcing the removal of Native American tribes. Manifest destiny required a military force that could operate across vast, rugged landscapes, making the Army a crucial tool for enforcing the nation's expansionist policies. The Army began to establish a presence along the frontier, marking the start of its role as an enforcer of manifest destiny. As the Army adapted to these new responsibilities, it also began to grow. By the 1840s, the United States had acquired vast amounts of land, and the Army had to evolve to meet the demands of this growing territory. This transformation in mission set the stage for the Army's increased involvement in conflicts that would shape the future of the American West. The Mexican-American War was a pivotal moment for the U.S. Army and marked one of its first large-scale conflicts outside of the original U.S. territories. This war was a direct result of manifest destiny, as Americans sought to claim Texas, California, and other southwestern territories. When tensions over Texas escalated, the United States declared war on Mexico in 1846, setting the stage for a conflict that would have lasting consequences for the Army. The Mexican-American War forced the U.S. Army to adapt to new challenges. Fighting in unfamiliar territory required the Army to improve its logistics, communication, and mobility. Soldiers marched across deserts and mountains, learning to navigate harsh environments. This experience highlighted the importance of logistical planning, as the Army struggled to keep its soldiers supplied with food, water, and ammunition. In terms of tactics, the Mexican-American War was also significant. U.S. forces were often outnumbered, yet they managed to win key battles through superior tactics and leadership. The war produced a number of military leaders who would later become prominent in the Civil War, including Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee. These leaders gained valuable experience in command and logistics, shaping the next generation of U.S. military tactics. One notable aspect of the Mexican-American War was the Army's use of artillery and maneuver warfare. U.S. forces employed mobile artillery units to break enemy lines and force Mexican forces into disadvantageous positions. This combination of artillery and infantry tactics became a model for future military engagements and set the stage for the Army's evolution into a more versatile and capable fighting force. The Mexican-American War was a training ground for the U.S. Army, exposing its soldiers to new tactics and environments. By the end of the war, the Army had gained control of vast new territories, fulfilling a key objective of manifest destiny. But this expansion also brought the Army into more frequent conflict with Native American tribes on the frontier. As settlers moved westward, the Army established forts along the frontier to protect them and assert U.S. control over the newly acquired territories. These forts served multiple purposes. They provided protection for settlers, acted as bases for military operations, and facilitated communication and supply lines across vast distances. Fort building became an essential part of the Army's role in enforcing manifest destiny. Key forts, such as Fort Laramie in Wyoming and Fort Leavenworth in Kansas, were strategically located along migration routes like the Oregon Trail. These forts provided a safe haven for settlers and served as bases for the Army's operations against hostile tribes. The forts also served as logistical hubs, where the Army stored supplies and maintained communication lines. The need to supply these remote outposts led to improvements in military logistics and transportation, including the development of supply wagons and new routes. This network of forts allowed the Army to maintain a presence across the frontier, reinforcing U.S. claims to these territories. The establishment of forts was more than just a military endeavor, it was a symbol of America's commitment to manifest destiny. Each fort represented the government's intention to claim and secure the land, no matter the cost. However, these forts also placed the Army in direct conflict with Native American tribes, who saw the forts as symbols of invasion and occupation. The Army's involvement in the Indian Wars was another critical aspect of its role during the era of manifest destiny. As settlers encroached on Native American lands, conflict was inevitable. The U.S. government tasked the Army with enforcing policies that aimed to remove or control Native populations, often leading to violent confrontations. One of the earliest conflicts was the Second Seminole War, 1835–1842, in Florida, where the Seminole tribe resisted removal under the Indian Removal Act. The Army struggled to fight in the swamps and forests of Florida, facing a determined enemy who knew the terrain. The war ended only after massive casualties on both sides, showcasing the difficulties of fighting an unconventional enemy in challenging environments. As the U.S. expanded further west, the Army engaged in numerous conflicts with tribes across the plains and the Southwest. The Apache Wars, the Nez Perce War, and the Sioux Wars were all part of a long and brutal struggle for control of the West. The U.S. government wanted Native tribes to relocate to reservations, while many tribes fought to protect their homelands. One of the most infamous conflicts was the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, where General George Custer and his men were defeated by a coalition of Lakota, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors. This battle highlighted the Native American resistance to U.S. policies and demonstrated the difficulties the Army faced in controlling the frontier. Despite the victory at Little Bighorn, however, Native tribes ultimately struggled to resist the overwhelming force and resources of the U.S. Army. The Indian Wars were a tragic consequence of manifest destiny, as Native tribes were systematically displaced from their lands. The Army's role in these conflicts was complex. While it was tasked with enforcing government policies, soldiers and officers often faced moral dilemmas about their role in the destruction of Native cultures. The wars left a lasting impact on both the Army and Native American communities, forever altering the landscape of the American West. The experiences of the U.S. Army during the Manifest Destiny era led to significant changes in military tactics and training. Fighting in the diverse landscapes of the American West, from deserts to forests to plains, required the Army to adapt its approach to warfare. One major innovation was the emphasis on mobility and the use of mounted units, particularly cavalry. Cavalry units played a crucial role in patrolling the vast western territories, tracking down raiding parties, and escorting settlers. These units became essential for covering large areas quickly, and they often engaged in skirmishes with native warriors who used guerrilla tactics. This experience prepared the Army for future conflicts that would require mobile and adaptable forces. Training also became more rigorous. Soldiers learned to fight in different terrains, adapt to challenging climates, and operate with limited supplies. The frontier experience taught the Army valuable lessons about logistics, including the importance of supply lines and communication networks. Military leaders began to emphasize flexibility and resourcefulness, traits that would become hallmarks of the U.S. military in later years. The lessons learned during the Indian Wars and the Mexican-American War laid the groundwork for a more professional and capable army. The experience gained on the frontier helped shape an American military culture that valued resilience and adaptability, qualities that would define the U.S. Army as it evolved into a major global force. The Army's role during Manifest Destiny was complex and often controversial. It was tasked with securing new territories, protecting settlers, and enforcing policies that frequently led to the displacement and suffering of Native American communities. While the Army's actions contributed to the growth and security of the United States, they also left a legacy of conflict and injustice. By the end of the 19th century, the Army had been transformed by its experiences on the frontier. It had evolved from a small, defensive force into a professional institution capable of projecting power across vast distances. The tactics, training, and logistical innovations developed during this period would serve the U.S. Army well in future conflicts, from the Civil War to the Spanish-American War and beyond. The Army's involvement in Manifest Destiny also highlighted the moral complexities of American expansion. While many soldiers believed they were fulfilling a noble mission, the reality was often far more complicated. The Army's role in the displacement of Native American tribes remains a dark chapter in American history, but it is also a testament to the transformative impact of Manifest Destiny on the nation's military. The U.S. Army's involvement in Manifest Destiny was a defining period in its history, shaping its tactics, training, and mission. From the Mexican-American War to the Indian Wars, the Army evolved to meet the demands of a growing nation, but its role in enforcing expansionist policies came at a significant human cost. The legacy of this period is complex, blending stories of innovation with those of displacement and resistance. If you found this exploration of the U.S. Army's development during Manifest Destiny insightful, make sure to subscribe to The Great Empires for more in-depth dives into history's pivotal events. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.